Hello everyone, my name is Olivia Mora. I've been working in the field of cardiology for almost 20 years and have always been dedicated to delivering the highest quality of patient care and services. In order to provide medical treatment to as many people as possible, access to care must be made easier and quicker. This is becoming a hot topic for healthcare facilities. Today, I'll show you how the handheld iStat system will improve our patients' access to care. Hospitals and healthcare facilities strive to transit patients smoothly throughout their visits with minimal, unexpected, and avoidable challenges occurring during their stays. With the focus on treating the masses, administrators and providers are always looking for new and innovative ways to improve access to care and reduce inefficiencies that will lead to improving the whole patient experience. The University of Washington Medical Center's Executive Director, Jeff Austin, said it best at a local leadership development meeting in March of this year when he said, "If patients do not feel like we can give them access to care, they will go somewhere else." With improving access to care being a common goal, project improvement plans geared towards reducing and eliminating inefficiencies have been gaining traction and becoming a key focal point. One aspect that has been a long-standing and very common challenge that affects these key elements in every healthcare facility, especially access to care, is long wait times. Focusing on access to care and reducing inefficiencies to improve the whole patient experience is not a new idea. In fact, key drivers of patient dissatisfaction include exam room wait times, waiting room wait times for return phone calls, and the time spent waiting for laboratory test results. Though there are multiple areas in which patients tend to wait for long periods of time, for this project improvement plan, I chose to concentrate on the waiting periods that our patients encounter while obtaining laboratory results as they maneuver through the UW healthcare system to finally reach the cardiac cath lab procedure area. The iStat device reduces the waiting that patients experience when getting typical laboratory testing. So what is the iStat, you wonder, and how does it reduce laboratory wait times so much that it improves a patient's access to care? First, the iStat is a point-of-care technology that significantly reduces the time from blood draw to results. It's a small handheld device that uses tiny, inexpensive cartridges along with trace amounts of patient blood to deliver rapid laboratory results. This point-of-care technology is physician trusted. It's been around for over a decade and is FDA approved for a multitude of laboratory tests. It's extremely user-friendly and provides accurate lab results within minutes. In fact, one study with 34 patients reported that laboratory result wait times had been reduced from 526 total minutes down to 105. The goal of this project improvement plan was to reproduce the testing comparisons with a larger sample size using the University of Washington's cardiac cath lab patients and analyze that data to provide similar results that would support iStat implementation for better access to care. In order to do this, I needed to gather quite a bit of information and design the framework for reporting. First, I started with identifying the patient population and sample size. Next, I outlined the current flow and process for those patients. And once the providers defined the required tests needed specific for those patients, I needed to obtain the comparative data and analyze the results. And finally, follow-up and recommendations based on the outcome and supporting evidence to suggest a change and implementation would be presented. The patient population consisted of only patients that underwent some sort of cardiovascular procedure in the cath lab. Patients were not randomly selected, and no patient was excluded due to status or disposition. Inclusion of all cath lab patients would accurately reflect all patient and procedure types and include all the variables, allowing for a full spectrum analysis. In order to provide relevant data, a retrospective sample size was taken over a 5-week period between December 1st, 2017 and January 5th, 2018, making it free from any bias or data manipulation. By this chart, and we'll look some of the other data later, but you can see that the hospital's laboratory information system showed there was a sample size of 154 total patients during that week. Since all cath lab patients were included in the study report, it's noted that the outpatient population would face additional waiting periods at the admitting and registration desks, as well as the laboratory departments. Regardless of disposition, patients still wait for their providers to enter the orders for testing. Then they must wait for the staff member to collect the blood. Then the sample is taken to the laboratory department for processing. Once the tests are finalized, the results are then uploaded and documented in the patient electronic medical record so that the providers can access them. And if the results are appropriate and within normal limits, the patient is then transported to the cath lab to finally undergo their procedure. This is obviously a lot of waiting and clearly a very long and arduous process. Each patient had standard laboratory tests ordered. These tests were decided upon by the providers in the cath lab department. The defined test results were considered to be community standard tests required to safely perform all procedure types done in the cardiac cath lab. These standard blood tests were CBC, which is the complete blood count, the BMP, which is the basic metabolic panel, and blood coagulation times. Since the BMP test yielded the longest wait period, it was subsequently used for the end data point in calculating the total result times. The systems used for wait time data elements were the hospital's LIS, mentioned earlier as the Laboratory Information System, the EPIC scheduling system, and the GE MacLab patient monitoring system. The LIS system was used to report the sample size as well as the timestamps for the system comparison. This information was provided via Excel spreadsheet. The cath lab's EPIC scheduling system provided a list of patients for each day during that time frame, which was used to confirm the LIS data. It also provided patients' respective original scheduled procedure start times. The patient's actual procedure start times were documented in and pulled from the GE MacLab and were used to compare against the EPIC scheduling system. This information provided a more broad and evident picture of the escalating downstream effects that long laboratory wait times have on prompt patient access to care. The information obtained from the LIS system showed that the average weekly waiting period for laboratory results was 123.4 minutes and as long as 2.5 hours. The longest wait period timestamp segment was between physician order to collection time at almost 80 minutes. This is a difficult timestamp to challenge since many of our patients reside on the floor or the unit. However, this table does provide two areas where the iStat would either completely eliminate or reduce the waiting time. These two segments are the collection to receipt time, which was just over 13.6 minutes, and the receipt to result time at 30.8 minutes. For comparison, an email I received on February 15th from May Ulibarri, the point of care test manager, confirmed that iStat results, though the process and reporting are slightly different, are performed within 15 minutes from the beginning to the end. What a huge difference. So what about all that other data? Part of the time constraint on the collection to receipt time is that the process is subject to at least 2 different staff members in 2 completely separate locations. The collection is performed by a staff member who draws the blood where the patient is located. The staff member then sends the specimen for processing in the laboratory department via the internal hospital tube system. This takes an average of almost 15 minutes. The iStat device eliminates this altogether since the individual drawing the blood is also the individual processing the results. Receipt to result times are subject to standard laboratory department instrumentation, which takes almost 30 minutes. And in fact, the University of Washington Medical Center's laboratory policy states that laboratory result turnaround times, even for stat results, are allowed 60 to 90 minutes. When the iStat is used, the collection to receipt time is eliminated completely as they occur simultaneously, and the results are automatically displayed on the iStat within minutes. With this information, implementing the iStat system would reduce the time for laboratory results by almost 45 minutes, offering an immediate improvement on access to care for our patients. Now, to take it a step further and to provide additional evidence that current laboratory processes and wait times negatively affect access to care, the data that was obtained from the Epic and GE MacLab systems were analyzed. Together with the LIS information, they revealed that there was an obvious and negative correlation. This table represents the weekly comprised information obtained from these systems during that same time frame. Late start intervals from 30 to 180 minutes were documented. From this table, you can see that almost 50% of the total scheduled cases were late in the first 2 weeks. Weeks 3, 4, and 5 showed a little improvement at 37, 33, and 24% respectively. And overall, most procedures were at least 60 minutes late. It's important to note that weeks 3, 4, and 5 were during the Christmas and New Year holiday, where we typically see annual reduction in cases. This could account for the decrease in both patient volumes and percent late starts. Finally, remember that long process? Well, with all this information, you can see that the iStat implementation eliminates many steps and waiting periods, ultimately giving the cath lab staff the ability to draw and result their own patients' laboratory blood draws immediately and independently is obviously a huge step in the right direction and creates a more streamlined access to care pathway for our area. It significantly improves access to care for our cardiac patients. Healthcare facilities are in the business of caring for people. In order to treat as many patients as possible, eliminating avoidable inefficiencies is a key focus for hospital administrators and providers. And though there are many factors that affect a patient's healthcare experience as they navigate hospitals and healthcare systems, it's been well documented that reducing how long patients wait for healthcare services has a profound and positive effect on their access to care, as well as their overall reported experience and satisfaction. This project improvement plan showcased the need for implementation of the iStat device in order to significantly reduce the time that patients wait for laboratory results and improve their access to care. Focusing specifically on reducing laboratory wait times is a simple and easy way to improve access to care, reduce inefficiencies, and improve the whole patient experience. Instead of sending our patients' blood samples to the laboratory department for long processing and wait times, bringing the convenient handheld iStat point-of-care system to the cath lab team to obtain immediate laboratory results for our patients will have an irrefutable improvement upon our patients' access to care and keep us focused on a patient-centered pathway. I would like to thank you all for listening and would like to take this last few minutes to answer any questions that you all might have.